In Nairobi, Wanjiru often stayed up late, her eyes heavy but her mind focused. Night after night she worked on a big marketing campaign. Her laptop glowed in the darkness as she typed, deleted and typed again. She studied numbers, tested colors, and wrote ideas until her fingers hurt. She wanted this project to be perfect, not just for herself but to finally show her value at the company. Meanwhile, her sister Njeri spent her nights out, dancing, laughing, living without a care. Wanjiru never complained, she just kept building her dream slide by slide. The morning of the presentation, Wanjiru's heart raced. She reached for her flash drive, gone. She searched everywhere, panic rising in her chest. Minutes later, she walked into the boardroom and froze. There was Njeri, standing tall in front of the projector, presenting Wanjiru's slides as if she had made them. The whole office clapped loudly. Some even whispered how brilliant Njeri was. Wanjiru sat in silence, her chest tight, tears threatening to fall. Then the boss leaned forward, eyes sharp. He asked a technical question about the campaign strategy. Njeri opened her mouth but no words came out. The silence was heavy. Slowly Wanjiru stood up. With shaking hands, she pulled out her phone and connected it to the screen. Drafts, emails, and timestamps appeared one after another. The truth was undeniable. The boss turned, his voice firm and loud. The true owner of this project is Wanjiru. The room went silent. Gasps filled the air. Njeri's smile vanished, and Wanjiru's eyes filled with tears. Not of sadness this time, but of long-awaited triumph. In Accra, Amma spent countless nights at her desk, eyes fixed on rows of numbers that seemed to dance across the screen. She worked carefully, building a financial model that could change the future of her company. Every formula, every calculation, she double-checked until she was sure it was perfect. While others were asleep, she was still awake, adjusting figures and running tests. She was proud of her work, though she kept it quiet. Her younger sister Efua was the opposite. Bold, loud, always chasing recognition. One evening, when Amma left her laptop open to take a short break, Efua peeked at the files. Curiosity turned into greed. With a sly smile, she copied the entire financial model. Amma never suspected what had happened until the board meeting the next morning. The room was full of suits, investors, and executives. Amma sat near the back, nervous but hopeful. Then her heart sank. Efua walked confidently to the front, opening the slides and presenting Amma's work as her own. The numbers, the charts, the clever forecasts, everything Amma had stayed up for was now being used by someone else. The board members clapped. Some even mocked Amma, whispering, "She's always behind, not like her sister." Each laugh cut deep into her heart, but she stayed silent, her hands trembling in her lap. Then, as Efua closed her presentation, the CEO leaned forward and turned the last page of the printed report. His eyes narrowed. At the bottom, clear as daylight, were Amma's initials, signed in her neat handwriting. The room went still. Gasps spread like a wave. Efua's confident smile faltered. The CEO's voice was firm, carrying across the room. "This work does not belong to Efua. The real brains behind this model is Amma." He pointed toward her. Heads turned. For a moment Amma froze, tears welling in her eyes. The applause that followed was thunderous, louder than she had ever imagined. People she thought had ignored her now clapped with respect. Efua sat in silence, her face pale, her pride shattered. Amma rose slowly, her heart pounding, not from fear this time but from vindication. After years of being underestimated, her truth had finally been spoken out loud, and everyone had heard it. In Kigali, the nights were long and quiet, but Quesa never rested. While the city slept, she sat at her small desk, typing, scribbling notes, and recording voice memos on her phone. She was designing a health program for an NGO that aimed to bring free clinics into rural areas. It wasn't easy. She had to research, plan logistics, calculate costs, and write endless proposals. But Quesa didn't mind the exhaustion. She believed in her work, and she knew it could save lives. Her sister Nadine, however, loved the spotlight more than the work itself. She would brag to friends and neighbors about being the mastermind behind the project. She told everyone how she stayed up working, how she had designed every detail. Quesa listened in silence, her chest tightening each time Nadine spoke as if the project was hers. She could have argued, but instead Quesa chose patience. Quietly, she saved every draft, every version, and every late-night voice note. She made sure her hard work was documented, even if nobody else knew. The big day finally came, the launch event. Donors, journalists, and community leaders filled the hall. Nadine walked in wearing a bright dress, smiling proudly, greeting people as though she was the star of the day. She spoke confidently, introducing herself as the one who built the program. Some clapped, some nodded in admiration, and Quesa sat quietly in the back, her heart pounding. Then the director stepped onto the stage. He spoke about the importance of the program, how much work had gone into it, and how it would change countless lives. Everyone leaned forward, expecting Nadine's name to be called. Nadine's smile widened, ready to receive her praise. But the director's words cut through the room. This project was designed and registered under the name of Quesa. He turned toward her and stretched out his hand. For a second the room froze. Nadine's face stiffened, her smile fading instantly. Murmur spread across the hall, then applause began, soft at first, then louder, until the whole hall echoed with claps for Quesa. Quesa rose slowly, her legs weak but her spirit strong. Tears blurred her vision as people surrounded her, shaking her hand, thanking her for her dedication. She could see Nadine shrinking in her chair, silent and exposed. For the first time, Quesa didn't feel invisible. She felt seen, respected, and finally free. All those nights of sacrifice had spoken for her louder than any lie ever could. In Harare, Tiro often sat alone at her desk long after midnight, her hands covered in pencil marks and her eyes heavy with fatigue. Architecture was not just her career, it was her passion. She poured her heart into her latest designs for an international competition, sketching, measuring, and perfecting every detail until the blueprints almost breathed with life. Each drawing carried her dreams of proving herself in a world where she was often underestimated. Quietly, she watermarked her name across every page, not because she expected betrayal, but because she wanted a personal touch on her work. Her sister Chipo was the opposite, charming, confident, and always eager for applause. She envied the attention Tiro received for her talent. One morning, when Tiro left her folder on the table, Chipo snatched the blueprints. Without guilt, she registered the project under her own name and prepared to present it. The day of the competition arrived. The hall was filled with professionals, investors, and judges. Chipo walked onto the stage, her voice strong, her smile dazzling. She unfolded the blueprints and explained them with pride, as if the ideas had sprung from her own mind. The judges leaned forward, impressed by the innovation and elegance. The audience clapped, and Tiro sat silently among them, her heart heavy with pain. Then came the turning point. A judge asked Chipo a specific technical question about the foundation design. Chipo froze. Her confidence cracked, her words stumbled, and silence fell over the room. Whispers spread. Suddenly, one of the judges lifted the blueprint closer to the light. His eyes narrowed. "Excuse me," he said firmly. "Who is Tiro?" The watermark was clear. Tiro's name appeared faintly across every page. The hall went still. All eyes turned toward the quiet woman seated in the audience. The judges immediately called Tiro to the stage. Her hands trembled as she walked forward, the weight of betrayal pressing on her chest. But when she began to explain the designs, her voice grew steady. She spoke with passion and knowledge, answering every technical question with ease. The hall erupted in applause, louder than anything she had ever imagined. Chipo's face turned pale, her smile gone. She tried to shrink into her chair as the judges praised Tiro and handed her the prize. Tiro held it tightly, tears in her eyes, not just of joy but of relief. For the first time the world saw the truth, the brilliance had always been hers. In Kampala, Joan's nights were filled with lines of code instead of sleep. She sat at her desk with her laptop glowing, typing until her fingers cramped, fixing errors again and again. She was building something big, an app that could connect small businesses with local buyers. For months she worked quietly, testing, debugging, rewriting. Every breakthrough made her heart race. Every crash made her stronger. She believed this app would change lives, and she poured every piece of herself into it. Her sister Miriam, however, was not interested in the hard work. She liked the recognition, the spotlight, the applause. One day, while Joan stepped out, Miriam peeked into her laptop and copied the project. Soon after, Joan discovered the worst. Miriam was pitching the app to investors as if it was her own. Joan felt her chest tighten, but she kept silent. She knew the truth had a way of showing itself. The demo day arrived. The hall was buzzing with cameras, journalists, and a panel of top investors. Miriam strutted onto the stage in a sleek dress, smiling like she owned the world. She introduced the app with polished words, trying to charm the audience. For a moment the panel nodded, interested. Joan sat quietly at the back, her hands trembling. Then it happened. As Miriam clicked to show the live demo, the app froze. Error messages flashed across the screen. The audience shifted uncomfortably. The panel frowned, and Miriam's confidence cracked. Sweat glistened on her forehead. From the back, Joan slowly stood up. Her voice was calm but steady. "I can fix it." She walked to the stage, her fingers flying across the keyboard. Within minutes, the app was running smoothly, displaying all the features Miriam had boasted about. The audience gasped. Some even stood to clap. The CEO leaned forward, his voice firm and clear. "This app belongs to Joan." The hall erupted in applause. Cameras flashed, capturing Miriam's red face as her smile collapsed into shame. She lowered her eyes, unable to meet anyone's gaze. Joan, with tears threatening to fall, finally stood in the spotlight, not as the quiet sister in the shadows, but as the true creator. The panel praised her, investors reached out, and for the first time, she felt the world see her worth. Miriam slipped away silently, but Joan remained, her head high, her hard work finally vindicated. In Dakar, Isatu worked hard every single day, but her effort never truly belonged to her. Each month, when her salary came in, her parents demanded it. "Women shouldn't control money," they told her. "Your job is to obey." Isatu lowered her eyes and nodded, never arguing. Outwardly, she looked like the quiet daughter who had nothing, but inside, her heart burned with determination. She knew she wanted more. She wanted to live with dignity, to prove that she could stand on her own. So secretly she began trading goods. At first, it was very small. She bought fabric from one city and sold it in another. She traveled quietly, often on crowded buses, carrying heavy bags herself. The profits were tiny, but she saved every coin. With time, she expanded into food products, then electronics. Each trip grew bigger, each deal smarter. Isatu was building something her parents could not imagine. Years passed, and her small business grew into a strong network. She started working with truck drivers, then wholesalers, until one day she had enough money to buy her first warehouse. Then another. Soon she wasn't just trading, she was controlling supply. By the time she was in her late 20s, Isatu was quietly supplying goods to half the markets in Dakar. But to her parents, she was still the poor girl with nothing. She let them believe that, waiting for the right moment. That moment came at her cousin's engagement party. The family was gathered, music played, food filled the tables, and everyone was laughing. But as always, her parents found a way to humiliate her. "Look at Isatu," her father said loudly. "She works and works, but still has nothing to show." Laughter spread across the room, her mother shaking her head as if she were a failure. Isatu stood slowly, her calm smile hiding the storm inside. She picked up the microphone meant for announcements. "Since everyone is talking about what I don't have," she said, "let me show you what I do have." She signaled to one of her staff, who brought in a projector. Photos lit up the wall, her warehouses, her delivery trucks, her teams at work. Gasps filled the air as she continued. "I am the supplier for more than half of Dakar's markets. The goods you buy every day. Many of them pass through my warehouses first." The room fell silent. Relatives stared in shock, some clapping slowly, others too stunned to speak. Her parents' smiles disappeared, their pride crumbling. Isatu stood tall, her voice steady. For years they drained her, mocked her, silenced her. But now, the whole family saw her for who she truly was. A powerful businesswoman who had built an empire in silence. In Addis Ababa, Hannah worked long shifts at a hotel, smiling at guests, carrying luggage, and answering questions with patience. The salary wasn't much, but even that little never stayed with her. Every month, her parents took it away as soon as it arrived. "You live under our roof, so your money is ours," they said. Hannah had no choice but to hand it over, watching her hard work vanish before her eyes. But there was one thing her parents didn't know. Hannah often received small tips from grateful tourists. A few coins here, a folded note there. Instead of spending it, she tucked it away carefully. With time, the money grew, and she used it to buy books and pay for small courses in tourism. She studied quietly, learning everything about travel management, guiding, and even foreign languages. At night, while her parents slept, she dreamed of one day running her own company. Years passed, and Hannah built her vision step by step. She networked with guides, partnered with drivers, and finally registered her own travel company. She designed brochures, built a website, and organized tours for visitors. Slowly, her company gained attention. But at home, her parents still saw her as the broke daughter, someone who would never succeed. Then came a family reunion. The hall was full of relatives, laughter, and chatter. In the middle of it, her parents decided to mock her once again. "Look at Hannah," her father said loudly. "She works all day but has nothing to show." The room erupted in laughter, cousins shaking their heads at her as if she were a failure. Hannah's heart raced, but this time she didn't stay silent. She reached into her bag and pulled out a stack of glossy brochures. She laid them on the table for everyone to see. On the cover, bold letters read, "Hannah Tours. Discover Ethiopia with us." The room fell quiet. Relatives picked up the brochures, flipping through pictures of buses, tour packages, and happy travelers. "I own this company," Hannah said firmly. "It's fully registered, and we already have bookings for the next season." Gasps filled the room. The same relatives who mocked her now leaned forward, their voices changing instantly. "Can you hire me? Do you need a driver? Can I join your team?" Her parents sat frozen, their laughter gone. And Hannah, for the first time, smiled with pride. She was no longer the helpless hotel worker. They were now witnessing the businesswoman she had fought to become. At her sister's wedding in Gaborone, everyone was smiling and celebrating except Nalady. She sat quietly at the corner table, her hands folded in her lap. For years, her parents had taken her income, saying it was her duty to pay for her brother's school and university. She never argued, never complained. She worked long hours, watched her salary vanish into their hands, and listened silently when they told her she was selfish for wanting to keep even a small amount for herself. They believed she was weak. They believed she was poor. But Nalady had been patient. While they drained her money, she had started investing secretly in cryptocurrency. She spent late nights reading, learning, and watching her small investments grow. Month after month, year after year, she built something they had no idea about. Now, in the middle of the wedding reception, her mother's sharp voice cut through the music. "Nalady is such a failure. What do you even have to show for yourself?" "Nothing." The hall went silent for a moment. Guests turned to look at her. Her brothers smirked. Her father shook his head like he was ashamed of her. Nalady just smiled softly, stood up, and walked to the projector. "Since you all want to know what I have," she said calmly, her voice steady but strong, "let me show you." She tapped her phone, and the screen lit up with numbers. Her crypto wallet balance. The hall gasped. The figures were in millions. People jumped from their chairs. Her uncles clapped their hands to their mouths. Her cousins cheered in disbelief. "Nalady!" her aunt shouted, almost fainting. Suddenly, the girl they had mocked was the richest person in the room. Her parents sat frozen, their faces pale, unable to speak. All their years of control, all their years of mockery, crumbled in one moment. The same family who had called her a failure now stared at her like she was untouchable. Nalady just smiled again and said, "I wasn't the failure, you were the blind ones." And the hall erupted in cheers louder than the wedding music. In Addis Ababa, Hannah poured her days and nights into a new tourism campaign. She believed her country's beauty, its mountains, its history, its culture, deserved to be seen by the world. She sketched ideas, wrote scripts, directed video shoots, and carefully crafted every detail. While her friends rested, Hannah was out in the field with her camera, recording voices, editing scenes, and perfecting the final video. She wanted something that would make people proud, something unforgettable. Her sister Salam watched quietly, but jealousy burned inside her. She liked recognition more than hard work, and when the board asked about the campaign, Salam quickly claimed she was the one leading it. She repeated Hannah's words, shared Hannah's ideas, and smiled as if it was all hers. The board clapped and praised her confidence. Hannah sat silently, her chest heavy, her lips pressed tightly together. The launch event came. The hall was full of government officials, investors, and media. Salam dressed elegantly and stood tall at the front, taking credit for every detail. People nodded in admiration, congratulating her before the presentation even began. Hannah sat quietly in the back, her heart pounding. Then the lights dimmed, and the promotional video played on the big screen. The breathtaking images of landscapes and smiling faces filled the hall. The audience gasped with wonder, clapping louder as the video ended. But then, in the final seconds, a line appeared on the screen in clear white letters. Created by Hannah. The hall froze. Murmurs spread. Salam's smile disappeared instantly, her body stiff as she stared at the screen. All eyes turned toward Hannah. The CEO stood, his voice firm but warm. Ladies and gentlemen, the true creator of this campaign is Hannah. Please give her the recognition she deserves. The hall erupted in applause, stronger and louder than before. Photographers rushed toward Hannah, cameras flashing. People called her name, shaking her hand, thanking her for her brilliance. Hannah stood, her hands trembling, her eyes wet with tears. Salam slipped back into her seat, her face burning with shame. No one looked at her now. The spotlight had shifted completely. For the first time, Hannah's hard work was seen and celebrated. She had stayed silent when her sister stole her voice, but in the end, her work spoke louder than any lie could. In Lusaka, Chipo worked tirelessly on a project close to her heart, a financial literacy workshop for young people and small business owners. She knew too many in her community who struggled with loans, debt, and saving. Night after night, she sat with her books, designing lessons, creating slides, and breaking down complicated financial terms into simple language. She wanted everyone to understand money, to feel empowered. By the time she was done, she had built a full program that could change lives. Her sister Leia, however, cared more about attention than impact. When she saw how well-prepared Chipo's materials were, she couldn't resist the temptation. She copied everything, slides, handouts, even the lesson plans, and rushed to register herself as the host of the program. Chipo was devastated when she heard, but instead of fighting, she stayed quiet. Deep down, she believed the truth would not stay hidden forever. The event day arrived. The hall was full. Students, journalists, and sponsors lined the seats. Cameras rolled as Leia stepped confidently onto the stage, smiling like she had built everything herself. She began speaking, using Chipo's words, explaining concepts as though she had worked on them for months. The crowd clapped politely, nodding along. Chipo sat in the back, her chest heavy, her hands cold. But then, halfway through the event, one of the sponsors took the microphone. He looked at his notes, then spoke clearly. We would like to recognize the person officially registered as the creator of this workshop, Chipo. The hall went silent for a moment. Then, all at once, the cameras turned toward the back where Chipo sat. Gasps filled the air, followed by applause that grew louder and louder until it drowned out everything else. People rose to their feet, clapping and cheering her name. Leia froze on stage, her smile collapsing into panic. She stammered, trying to explain, but no one listened. The cameras ignored her, focusing only on Chipo. The applause rolled through the room like thunder, shaking her heart. With tears in her eyes, Chipo stood slowly, the weight of betrayal lifting as people reached out to her. For the first time, she felt seen and respected. Her hard work had not been wasted. The very project her sister tried to steal had lifted her higher than she ever imagined. Leia slipped away in silence, her excuses buried under the sound of Chipo's triumph. The spotlight belonged to the one who had truly earned it. In Gaborone, Nalady spent months hunched over her desk, wires and sketches scattered everywhere. She was creating a small tech device to help schoolchildren learn faster, even in places with little electricity or internet. Every night she tested it, adjusting the circuits, writing codes, and fixing errors until the device finally worked. It wasn't just an invention to her. It was her dream of giving children opportunities she never had. Her sister Boitamelo watched silently, but jealousy grew inside her. She liked being admired, and when she saw how brilliant the invention was, she rushed to claim it as her own. She bragged to friends, telling everyone she was the genius behind the project. When the official unveiling day came, Boitamelo dressed like a star, ready to shine in front of government officials and reporters. The hall filled with excitement. The device was displayed on stage, and the minister stepped forward to announce the creator. Boitamelo stood tall, her smile wide, already soaking in the attention. But then the minister held up a shiny patent certificate. In bold letters, one name stood clear: Nalady. The hall gasped. Then cheers erupted louder and louder, echoing through the room. Reporters rushed toward Nalady, cameras flashing, microphones stretching out to her. Nalady stood slowly, her hands trembling, tears filling her eyes. She had stayed quiet through her sister's lies, but now the truth shone brighter than anything else. Boitamelo's smile faded. She slipped to the back, her presence swallowed by silence as all eyes turned to Nalady. For the first time, Nalady felt the recognition she had fought for, the proof that her hard work and sacrifice had finally been seen.